What's up, everybody? SteadyChaos coming to you here tonight, Thursday night, 1 a.m. I always have a tendency of doing these things late for whatever reason, but I realized I had a bit of a problem on my hands, and as a tech enthusiast, it's kind of a good problem to have, sort of. I know that kind of sounds confusing, but I just realized my PC is almost 7 years old. So, you know what that means? Yeah, time to upgrade. So, the question is, should I go with Intel or AMD? AMD has made strides the last couple years, but especially with the Ryzen CPU and the Zen 2 architecture that's come out, they've made some strides, and they're really challenging Intel right now for dominance. Intel is still stuck on the 14 nanometer processors, while AMD has gotten down to 7 nanometers, so their processors are just more efficient. They don't have the same clock speeds. I think the i9-9900K gets up to 5 gigahertz, whereas the 3900X is like around 4.7 with turbo speed. But anyway, I don't want to get into the technical details, but the important thing is it's time to upgrade. So, with that in mind, what I'm thinking is, my favorite site when I go to customize theoretical CPUs, what I might buy, I'm always looking to upgrade. I'm never actually pulling the trigger a lot of the time, but I'm always looking to upgrade. So my favorite website to go to is ibuypower.com. So let's go there now. AMD Ryzen 7, that's what we want. We want to look at the new Ryzen 7 Zen 2 CPUs. Alright, so let's start at the top. I'm not getting any of these various accessories. They're not really. I already have a pretty sweet computer chair. I already got the Astro A40s. I don't need any of this stuff. Gaming case. Not really a huge thing to me. I'm not looking to get all these RGBs all over the place and flashing lights. It's not really my style. So let's go with something that's more monochromatic. Let's go with the black and maybe a little red. That's kind of cool looking. Open that up. Yeah, it's pretty sick. We'll go with that. Alright. And it's actually cheaper too than the original case they had me at. It was like 20 bucks cheaper. So we'll scroll on down. We don't need to worry about the case. So we'll go with the default case fan. I don't want any coloring. I'm all set with the RGB lights. Alright, don't need any of that stuff. Alright, so now we come to the important part, the CPU. Alright, so the recently released, I think this month even, the Ryzen 9 3900X, 12 cores with 24 threads. That is pretty sick, running at 3.8 gigahertz baseline with a 64 megabyte cache. That is a shit ton of memory. So right now they have me on the default AMD Ryzen 7 2700X. That's last year's model. I'm gonna definitely get one of the newer models if I were to buy this package. So let's go with, let's just set it up for the Ryzen 9 3900X. I know that AMD certainly has a leg up on Intel when it comes to multi-threaded performance, multi-threaded core performance. So I'm not really gaming. I'm doing primarily video editing for YouTube and uploading videos, and that is definitely multi-core dependent. It definitely works the cores and works the threads. So let's go with the Ryzen 9 3900X at 12 cores. That's crazy. That's a lot of CPU cores. And then we'll come down here, air cooling. We'll go with again, they have RGB. I don't know what's going on with this RGB fab, but it's kind of fucking ridiculous. I'm not really into that. So let's just go with let's murder it out. Let's go all black. Yeah, that's pretty sick. I'll add that. So, video editing is pretty memory intensive, and my current CPU has 28 gigs DDR3, so this is at least an upgrade to DDR4. I'd like to hold out, potentially maybe till later in the fall, when I think DDR5 might get released, but the question is, do I want to wait till potentially November, December for that, maybe not, we'll see, but let's just, for now, let's just put it at, so we have these options, DDR4 3 gigahertz memory and DDR4 3.2 gigahertz, and then a 4 gigahertz memory module. That's really pricey. We're not going to, it looks like you're limited to 16 gigs, so we're not going to go with that. I'd like to get, let's go with a 3.2 gigahertz memory module at 32 gigabytes of RAM, and we'll go 20 bucks extra. Corsair Vengeance LPX, a name brand. We'll go with that. maybe slightly more reputable. I don't even know if it's any faster. It doesn't say, but it's $20, so we'll do that. All right, now we go down to the GPU. Video editing, from my understanding and what I've read online, it's more CPU dependent, but the GPU is definitely still important. So let's take a look here. AMD GPUs are definitely pretty far behind NVIDIA GPUs in terms of performance. So I think I'm going to bypass the AMD GPU and go straight to NVIDIA. And I think, you kind of want to future-proof this to some degree. I don't want to, 2 years from now, have to upgrade the GPU again. So it looks like, and it's a $100 off deal right now, an extra $310. It looks like the 2070 would probably be a pretty good buy for me. That's definitely a very capable video card. You could probably game, on certain games, 4K 60 with that. Certainly 2560, 1440 at 60, and probably more like 90 frames, maybe even 100 with the 2070. I don't need a 2080 because that's just overkill, honestly. I'm just looking to do some video editing and upload to YouTube. I'm not a gamer, so I think the 2060 honestly would probably be more than enough even. But being the techophile that I am, I want to get the best possible GPU that I can kind of afford. I don't want to go crazy and get a freaking Titan. Look at this Titan, 24 gigabytes of video RAM. That is ridiculous. 24 gigabytes of fucking video RAM. Who the fuck needs that? $2,400. That is absurd, but it's awesome. Obviously, you're a professional, I don't know what you want to call them, professional renderers, I don't know, people that do CAD or GPU intensive programming for a living are going to need, video cards like that, and they're probably going to run them in SLI because they're sick. And basically when you're running something in SLI, it means you're running one NVIDIA GeForce Titan, and then right beside it you're running another, right here, SLI mode, another NVIDIA GeForce Titan. So yeah, we checked that by accident. We would go bankrupt. We don't want to do that. So let's just let's go right back to the standard, straightforward NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2070, which is still a very, very capable. No, we want this one. Still a very, very capable video card. 8 gigabytes of super fast GDDR6. It's VR ready. Not that I'm going to play VR, but it's kind of cool to have the option. So that's settled. Let's get the 2070. We don't need an SLI bridge because we're not running 2 cards, as we just kind of touched on. Not going to run 2 cards. I'm not a gamer. I'm a PS4 gamer and soon to be PS5 gamer. So we'll skip through all this stuff. Now we don't need the game bundle. Nope. Alright, so now we come to the motherboard, and with the new Zen 2 3rd generation Ryzen CPUs, the 3900X that I purchased earlier, and we scroll up, see for my CPU I purchased the 3900X right here, or I at least selected it. I haven't purchased anything yet. See where my mind's going to? I already want to buy this. The 3900X. So yeah, so that is a brand new CPU, and with the brand new CPU you're probably going to want to get the 470, the 570 motherboard. Obviously it's compatible with both the 470 and the 570, but the 570 is the newer motherboard, so for future-proofing's sake we're going to select something from here. Again, these are all RGB, ARGB. That's ridiculous. I don't need any of that shit, but ideally I'm not looking to spend a lot of money here. It has, let's see, it's got a LAN port. I'm gonna try to hardwire my current computer. You never know if you might change rooms. If you buy a new house, you get a man cave, you might not be able to hardwire it. My plan right now, as long as I'm in this room and in this house, is to hardwire. So it does have the LAN port as part of the motherboard, and we have $68 here for this one. So that's pretty convenient. It's got 4 USB 3.2s on the front of the computer and 7 in the back. That is a lot. That's 11 ports. Jesus H. Christ.
If you have 11 devices connected to your CPU, or your PC, I should say, you got fucking problems.
I have my keyboard, my mouse, my desktop speakers, and my Astro A40 mix amp. That's what, 4 things. I might have one other thing that I can't remember. That's 5, maybe. But I mean, 11. It's good to have options, but Jesus H. Christ. That is insane. Alright, so that settles that. Moving on. 600 watt power supply. More than enough. Perfect. Not going SLI. I'm not going crazy, you know, souped up rig for PC gaming, so I don't really need a huge power supply. So let's just bypass. Advanced cabling options. Interesting. Standard cables included. Well, no shit. Let me just click on that and see if anything changes on this side of the screen. No. Okay. So, no. Let's click on this one. Ah, did you see that? I don't know if you know that. Look on this side of the screen here, on the left side of the screen where they're showing the desktop computer, and it's actually, the image is changing as I select certain loadouts, if you will, or certain selections here. So, for instance, if you look at the wiring section and I select standard default cables, you'll notice that it's sort of a rainbow color here as I move my mouse over it. And then if I go to the motherboard 8-pin CPU VGA power extension cables, black. Oh, that's nice. So you see here the cables, yeah, they've all turned black. So this PC is basically murdered out, which is my style. Very monochromatic, very sleek, no silly blinking lights. And like I said, that's not my style. I'm good with that. Now we're on to, it looks like storage. So, M2 PCI, so solid state card, what else, what are the odds? There's a bunch of options here. So my primary hard drive, so I'm gonna want the fastest SSD that I can get. So it looks like, from my understanding and from the research I've done, the Samsung 860 Pro is the fastest SSD that you can own. So let's get that in a reasonable size, 256 gigs. It's my primary drive, again, and that basically means that is where the Windows operating system is going to be loaded onto. So that means when your Windows operating system is loaded onto an SSD, especially a fast SSD, like the Samsung Evo 860, you're basically going to get really fast boot times. When that computer's off and you hit that power button, it's going to load up in seconds, really fast. We're not talking 30, 45 seconds. We're talking maybe 5 to 10 seconds. And that's what I want. It's not, this SSD as my primary drive is not going to be for storage of media or any clips that I'm working on in Video Editor or DaVinci. It's just going to be basically for super fast booting and super fast shutting down of the system. And that's why you can kind of get away with such a small amount. 256 gigs is pretty small nowadays. But when you scroll down, your data hard drive, this is where you want to store all your media. And again, I don't need to go too crazy here because I have a couple external hard drives, and I can always buy a massive 8 or 10 terabyte external hard drive if I'm so inclined. And now that I'm getting into YouTube, I may want to do something like that, but that's in the future. So here, I think 2 terabytes is fine. That's what my current computer is, 2 terabyte, 7200 RPM hard drive. So we'll select a couple terabytes here. It's 256 megabyte cache. We'll go with the name brand hard drive. It's only in, what, an extra 14 bucks. So 2 terabyte Seagate Barracuda, good enough, perfect for storage. And again, like I said, I'm not too worried about it because you can always get an external hard drive, not a big deal. External optical drives, nope. Don't need any of that stuff. Media card, whatever. USB, Kingston, no, I already have USBs. 11 of them, if you recall that rant I had earlier. 11 USB ports, I don't need anything additional. So now we come to sound card, and I already have some really nice Vanatu transparent zero desktop computer speakers that were like 500 bucks, and a couple of subs, Pioneer sub 8-inch kickers underneath my desk. I don't think I want to go with just kind of a default surround sound, 3D premium sound, as they say right here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna want to go with a discrete audio card, which means basically a dedicated audio card. It's gonna cost more, but I'm not looking to go crazy here. I'm not gonna spend $234 on a 7.1 channel, 32-bit sound card, but something dedicated. So let's get one of these, something in this area up here. This one doesn't appear to have an optical out, so I want that optical out. This one has one. You can see it if you enlarge the photo, you can see the optical out right here. 5.1's fine. I only have 2 speakers and a couple subs, so I don't even need to worry about 5.1 surround sound on my PC. So it looks like the Sound Blaster Z 5.1, a 24-bit DAC, 192 kilohertz. That's good. That's going to be quite a bit better, I think, than anything that comes standard with the motherboard. So let's just go with the Creative Sound Blaster Z 5.1 channel 24-bit DAC. It's only an extra like $70, so it's not too bad. Scrolling down, so now we come to the network card. I like the hardwire, but again, you can't predict the future. You want to have this PC for at least 5 or 6 years. You never know what your configuration is going to be like. Am I going to have a man cave in 2 or 3 years? Because right now I don't have a man cave. I'm sort of sharing a room, a multimedia room with my wife. But who knows, maybe 3 or 4 years we buy a new house and it's upstairs, my man cave, and I can't really, realistically hardwire like I'd want to. So maybe I want to get a really super fast network card. I don't really want to spend $103 on a network card. It says up to 1300 megabits per second. My experience with Wi-Fi is it kind of sucks. It kind of really sucks. My current house is rated for 200 megabits down with my current IPS, or ISP I should say. IPS. I'm thinking of IPS monitor panels. Jesus, it's late. My ISP, I pay 200 down, and I do a speed test hooked up to Wi-Fi, and I get around 50, which is kind of, it's acceptable, but you're paying for 200, you want the 200. So I recently re-hardwired my computer to my router, and now I'm getting 205. So with that in mind, knowing that I'm always going to try to hardwire my computer, I'm not going to get too crazy and spend over $100 on a Wi-Fi card here. So it looks like maybe this $70 here, maybe, they're dual band. So they got the 2.4 gigahertz, which my current PC has. It's older, 2013 2.4 gigahertz, but it also has, this card here has 5 gigahertz. They all have 5 gigahertz. That's what you want. The 5 gigahertz is a much faster frequency. So we'll go with it's only $30. We'll go with that one. And that's it. So that completes this particular build. So let's take a look at the final specs. It looks like I might have a conflict here based on that. I don't know what these exclamation points mean. It might not be the requisite amount of cooling for this processor setup and motherboard, but let's just theoretically say this is acceptable. We're talking about state-of-the-art, brand new, recently released AMD Ryzen 9 3900X processor with 12 cores and 24 threads, with 64 megabytes of level 3 cache. That's ridiculous. And then we'll have 32 gigabytes of super fast DDR4 3.2 gigahertz memory RAM. GeForce RTX 2070, 8 gigabytes of dedicated video RAM, the state-of-the-art brand new motherboard with 11 fucking USB ports. It's ridiculous. 600 watt power supply, and as we mentioned earlier, the super fast SSD and the 2 terabyte Seagate Barracuda data storage drive, and with the sound card, Creative Sound Blaster Z, and the network card. And that comes to $2,200. That's not too bad. Part of me is thinking about holding out until mid to late September, when AMD is supposed to release the last line in their Ryzen 7 CPU series, the 3950. It's 16 cores with 32 threads. That is nuts. I'm sure it's going to be super expensive. We're talking, with this $2,275 subtotal price on this current configuration, if I had the 3950X, you're probably talking $2,600. But to get those extra 4 cores and 8 threads, I think it's worth it, especially for future-proofing sake. So I might hold out until late September when the 3950X is available. And then at that point, I'd probably only have to hold out another month or two and DDR5 would be available. So based on the price now and what's coming down the pipeline as far as the 3950 and the DDR5 RAM soon, in the next 2 to 3 months for both of those. I may, and I think in fact I will wait it out. And as I said when I started this video, my current PC, it's not inept. You know, as I said, 28 gigs of RAM, quad core, Intel i7, 4th gen. It still runs really well. It's super fast on Google Chrome, and that's primarily what I do. I surf the web, I stream a lot of 4K content, runs it no problem, perfectly fine. But with the advent of my YouTube channel, which I just started this past week, you know, and I'm doing a lot of intensive video editing, that's where my PC is really struggling. And at this point, with a 7-year-old PC, or almost 7-year-old PC, it just doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really make sense to upgrade the GPU in that, because, you know, you upgrade the GPU and you're looking to get another 3 or 4 years out of that GPU. By then, my computer's a decade old, you know? So with that in mind, I think I'm probably going to hold out and see what the 3950X and the DDR5 RAM have to offer come October, November. See what that price is out at. If it's sub 3,000, somewhere around 2,800, then I may go with that. But that's pretty much going to do it for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that I should wait for the 3950X when all I really want to do is 1080p and at some point 4K video editing? Or should I just go with the 3900X now? Or, better yet, maybe I should go with the i9 or the i7 Intels. Part of me is thinking I won't do that, at least not with the current crop of Intel i7 and i9 processors. The i7 is an 8-core, but it's only 8 threads. So when you're talking about multi-core performance, it doesn't really make sense for me to get an i9 or an i7. I think the i9 9900K and KF are 8-core 16-thread. So that is a little bit more of a tempting proposition, but I still feel like when it comes to multi-core performance, the AMD Ryzen is probably the better choice. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button or smash that like button.